Welcome to nuclear weapons. In the 20th century, humanity created a weapon so powerful, it could erase entire cities in seconds. A weapon that redefined war, power, and fear, the nuclear missile. But how did it all begin? Who built the first ones? And why do these weapons still cast a shadow over our world today? Pause. Tense music builds. Let us travel back in time, to uncover the history of mankind's deadliest invention. It all started in the early 1940s, during World War II. Scientists, working under the secret Manhattan Project, in the United States, raced to unlock the power of the atom. In 1945, their experiment reached its terrifying conclusion. On July 16, in the deserts of New Mexico, the first nuclear device was tested. The world had changed forever. Explosion sound effect, echoing voice. They called it the Trinity test. Narrator. Just weeks later, 2 bombs, Little Boy and Fat Man, were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Over 200,000 lives vanished in a storm of fire and radiation. Humanity had witnessed the dawn of nuclear destruction. But the atomic bomb was only the beginning. Dropping bombs from airplanes was dangerous and slow. Military planners wanted a faster, deadlier way to deliver nuclear warheads. The solution? Missiles. Machines that could travel across continents, carrying nuclear death to distant targets. Dramatic pause. In the late 1940s, German rocket technology from World War II, especially the V-2 missile, became the foundation for a new era. The United States and the Soviet Union both captured German scientists. Among them was Wernher von Braun, whose work would shape the future of missile warfare. As the Cold War began, the Soviet Union and the United States competed for nuclear dominance. In 1957, the Soviets shocked the world by launching the R-7 Semyorka, the first intercontinental ballistic missile, or ICBM. This missile could travel thousands of kilometers, delivering a nuclear warhead deep into enemy territory. The age of ICBMs had arrived. The Americans quickly responded. The Atlas missile, followed by the Titan and Minuteman series, became symbols of U.S. nuclear strength. Hidden deep inside silos across the country, these missiles stood ready, 24 hours a day, waiting for the order that everyone prayed would never come. In October 1962, the world came closer than ever to nuclear war. The Soviet Union secretly placed nuclear missiles in Cuba, just 90 miles from American shores. When U.S. reconnaissance planes discovered them, panic spread through Washington. For 13 terrifying days, the world held its breath. Would nuclear missiles bring the end of civilization? Pause. Dramatic silence. Through tense negotiations between John F. Kennedy and Nikita Khrushchev, disaster was narrowly avoided. The Cuban Missile Crisis proved one chilling truth. Nuclear missiles were not just weapons of war, they were weapons of fear. During the 1970s and 1980s, the nuclear arms race reached terrifying new heights. The Soviet Union developed the SS-18 Feat Satan, a massive missile capable of carrying multiple warheads, each powerful enough to destroy a city. The United States countered with the Minuteman III and the Trident submarine-launched missiles. These new weapons introduced a concept called MAD, Mutual Assured Destruction. It meant that if one superpower launched its missiles, the other would respond instantly, and both nations would be destroyed. It was a balance of terror that kept the Cold War from turning hot. The nuclear missile club did not remain limited to the US and the Soviet Union. Other nations soon joined. The United Kingdom developed its own nuclear arsenal, deploying Polaris missiles from submarines. France built the Mirage IV bombers and submarine-launched missiles, determined to remain independent of American and Soviet power. China tested its first nuclear missile in 1966, determined to become a superpower in its own right. Narrator. As the decades passed, India and Pakistan also joined the nuclear race, testing their own missiles in the late 20th century. North Korea, too, began its pursuit of long-range nuclear weapons, sparking global concern. Behind every missile, there were human stories, scientists who built them, soldiers who guarded them, and civilians who feared them. Every test, every launch, every stockpile carried a silent question: what if, one day, someone presses the button? Generations grew up under the shadow of nuclear war, living with the fear that at any moment, sirens might sound, and missiles might rise into the sky. Narrator, voice drops, chilling tone. The story of nuclear missiles is not just about technology or power. It is about humanity's darkest temptation, the power to destroy itself. But this is only the beginning. In the next chapter, we will explore the rise of modern nuclear arsenals, the hidden accidents, and the near misses that almost ended the world. In Part 1, we witness the birth of nuclear fire, the rise of missiles, and the terrifying standoff of the Cold War. But the story of nuclear missiles is far from over. Now, we dive deeper into the accidents, the near disasters, and the terrifying innovations that made these weapons even deadlier. Chapter 8. The Doctrine of Mad. Narrator. By the late 1960s, both the United States and the Soviet Union had thousands of nuclear missiles. This gave birth to a chilling concept: mutual assured destruction, or MAD. It meant that if one nation fired, the other would retaliate, and both sides would be annihilated. In theory, MAD kept the peace. In reality, it meant the world lived every day under the shadow of instant destruction. Sound of a ticking clock. The Cold War was a waiting game, with humanity's survival hanging by a thread. Chapter 9. Deadly accidents and near misses. Narrator. But what if destruction came not by war, but by mistake? Throughout the Cold War, dozens of nuclear accidents nearly triggered disaster. In 1961, a U.S. bomber broke apart in the sky over North Carolina. 2 hydrogen bombs fell to the ground. One nearly detonated. Only a single safety switch prevented catastrophe. In 1983, Soviet officer Stanislav Petrov received a warning that U.S. missiles were inbound. His orders were to launch a counterattack. But Petrov trusted his instincts. It was a false alarm. By refusing to push the button, he may have saved the world. Music slows, haunting tone. History remembers wars that were fought, but rarely do we remember the wars that were narrowly avoided. Chapter 10. Submarine-launched missiles, the silent threat. Narrator. While land-based missiles were terrifying, another weapon lurked in the oceans: the submarine-launched ballistic missile, or SLBM. Hidden beneath the waves, nuclear submarines could approach enemy shores undetected. At any moment, they could rise and unleash missiles that no defense system could stop. The United States deployed the Polaris and later the Trident missiles. The Soviet Union answered with its own submarine fleet. For the first time in history, destruction could come silently from beneath the sea. Chapter 11. The arms race expands. Narrator. The 1970s and 1980s saw the arms race grow beyond imagination. The Soviets built the SS-18 Satan missile, capable of carrying up to 10 warheads, each independently targeting a different city. The Americans tested the MX Peacekeeper missile, one of the most advanced ICBMs ever designed. Both sides created mobile launchers, rail-based systems, and even considered space-based nuclear platforms. Narrator. The world had entered an era where a single missile launch could ignite a chain reaction ending life as we know it. Chapter 12. The Psychological War. Narrator. Nuclear missiles were not just weapons, they were symbols. Parades in Moscow and Washington displayed massive missiles to the world. Photographs of silos and submarines were broadcast in propaganda films. The message was clear: we have the power to destroy you. For decades, children in schools practiced duck and cover drills. Civilians built underground shelters. The fear of nuclear annihilation became part of daily life. Chapter 13. Treaties and Hope for Peace. Narrator. But even in this darkness, there were moments of hope. Leaders realized that an uncontrolled arms race could only end in disaster. In 1972, the United States and the Soviet Union signed the SALT-I Treaty, limiting nuclear missiles. Later came the INF Treaty in 1987, which banned certain types of missiles altogether. For the first time, superpowers dismantled nuclear weapons instead of building more. The world breathed a cautious sigh of relief. Chapter 14. New players enter the game. Narrator. Yet, the nuclear missile story was not just about two superpowers. Other nations advanced their own programs. India tested its Agni missiles, capable of reaching deep into rival territories. Pakistan responded with the Shaheen series, sparking a regional arms race. China developed the DF-5 and later the DF-31, giving it global nuclear reach. North Korea shocked the world with long-range missile tests, defying international warnings. Each new player added more uncertainty to an already fragile balance. Chapter 15. Nuclear tests and the Earth trembles. Narrator. From the deserts of Nevada to the islands of the Pacific, nuclear missiles were tested with devastating force. Mushroom clouds rose into the sky, poisoning the land and atmosphere. Entire islands were destroyed, villages evacuated, and generations left with radiation scars. Nuclear tests were not just science, they were messages to the world. We have the power, and we are not afraid to use it. Chapter 16. Living on the Edge. Narrator. Deep, chilling tone. By the end of the 20th century, there were over 70,000 nuclear warheads on Earth. Enough to destroy the planet many times over. Every missile in its silo, every submarine beneath the waves, every warhead hidden in bunkers, was a reminder that humanity held its own fate in its hands. And yet, the missiles remained, waiting, silent, patient. Closing of Part 2. Narrator. The history of nuclear missiles is not just history, it is a warning. A reminder of how close we have come to total destruction, and how fragile peace really is. But the story is not finished. In Part 3, we will explore the modern era, the rise of next-generation missiles, cyber warfare, and the terrifying question: what happens if nuclear weapons fall into the wrong hands? Music fades, echoing sound of a missile launch in the distance. In Part 1, we witness the birth of nuclear fire, the rise of missiles, and the terrifying standoff of the Cold War. But the story of nuclear missiles is far from over. Now, we dive deeper into the accidents, the near disasters, and the terrifying innovations that made these weapons even deadlier. Chapter 8. The Doctrine of MAD. Narrator. By the late 1960s, both the United States and the Soviet Union had thousands of nuclear missiles. This gave birth to a chilling concept: mutual assured destruction, or MAD. It meant that if one nation fired, the other would retaliate, and both sides would be annihilated. In theory, MAD kept the peace. In reality, it meant the world lived every day under the shadow of instant destruction. Sound of a ticking clock. The Cold War was a waiting game, with humanity's survival hanging by a thread. Chapter 9. Deadly accidents and near misses. Narrator. But what if destruction came not by war, but by mistake? Throughout the Cold War, dozens of nuclear accidents nearly triggered disaster. In 1961, a U.S. bomber broke apart in the sky over North Carolina. 2 hydrogen bombs fell to the ground. One nearly detonated. Only a single safety switch prevented catastrophe. In 1983, Soviet officer Stanislav Petrov received a warning that U.S. missiles were inbound. His orders were to launch a counterattack. But Petrov trusted his instincts. It was a false alarm. By refusing to push the button, he may have saved the world. Music slows, haunting tone. History remembers wars that were fought,